Good afternoon. Coming to you live again from Brownsville, Texas on a Wednesday afternoon. Luke Furia Motors, Cadillac, Buick, GMC, Kevin Naro by myself today. Gonna carry the torch. Still got a lot to talk about. Later today, we're gonna be joined by Tony Lopez, the Cadillac manager here in store. He'll be joining us just to promote what Cadillac sales are going on here in the dealership. But with the week that is, we are starting the high school playoffs for the sport of softball. Next week, we are going to be jumping into playoff baseball. Last night I was at a baseball game where Lyford wound up beating Rio Hondo 4-2, and they won the district title outright. That was a 4-2 game. That was a matter of Rio Hondo. They win, they get a split of the district title. If Lyford won, they won it outright. The case was very simple last night, and Lyford, they went into that game having not lost a district game. They were 7-0, and De La Garza for Lyford, he pitched a gem. He went 7 innings, struck out 14, gave up 3 hits and 2 runs. He was a big reason why Lyford won that game last night, 4-2 against Rio Hondo. So congratulations to the Lyford baseball team on winning the district. Before we go into any further into softball, we do have some dates that we're going to be sharing with you. We have June 23rd through the 25th will be our softball showcase. Again, last week Joe and I mentioned that we were looking to host it in Raymondville again. We've already made some phone calls to the school board members, superintendent. So right now we're working out some final logistics, but we're looking at hosting it again in Raymondville. June 23rd through the 25th. June 17th, that weekend, is going to be our soccer showcase. Jacob Young and Joe talked a little bit about that last week, and it's going to be over at the HEB Park. So Jacob and Joe are headlining that, and Jacob's already starting to get invitations out to players. But that's going to be the June 17th weekend. And then the following weekend will be the softball showcase down in Raymondville, the 23rd through the 25th. We're also working on our football magazine. And our football magazine looking to come out July 31st. It'll be in hand. So before scrimmages even start, we'll be looking to hand those out as well. I know you can also place an order through a jot form that we posted on our social media site. So if you're interested in reserving an early copy of the football tab, go ahead and go to our social media sites, click the jot form link, and you can order the football preview magazine there. It's our third one in as many years, so we're excited about that. But looking ahead to the softball standings and what's going to be happening, looking across the board in the 3 5As that we have, and the 2 6As, and then the 3A, and then the 4As, the final standings in 31 5A. Sharyland Pioneer and PSJ North, they wound up finishing with the same record at 17-2. They both wound up tying for first place. They wound up having a seeding game on Monday to determine who's the 1 seed, who's the 2 seed. PSJ North wound up winning that game against Pioneer, so the Lady Raiders get the 1 seed, Pioneer is the 2, Mac High is the 3, and McAllen Rowe is the 4 seed in 31 5A. On the flip side, on the lower end of the valley, Mid-Valley, 32 5A, Mercedes wound up winning that district with a 17-1 district record. Harlingen South, they beat Westlaco East on Friday 1-0. So Harlingen South will be the 2 seed with a 14-4 record. Brownsville Lopez finished in 3rd with a 13-5 record. Westlaco East finished with a 12-6 record, and they are the 4 seed going into the playoffs. And Friday night, going into that matchup, it was a matter if Harlingen South won, they were the 2 seed. If East would have won and Lopez won, then you would have had that 3-way tie for second, and then there would have been a lot of discussions on flips. Is it going to be a round robin? So thankfully it didn't come to that. And then you have Brownsville Veterans and Ed Chelsea. We'll talk about this later in the show, how Brownsville Veterans, them and Ed Chelsea went 11-7, but both won 11 games, and they're still not in the playoffs. And that's just a testament to just how tough the 32 5A district was. Down in 30 5A, Rio Grande City, they ran the table. They lost their final game of the year against Roma. Didn't mean much. They were already locked up as the 1 seed. But Rio Grande City is the 1 seed. Mission Veterans is the 2. Palmview is the 3 seed, and Roma finishes as the 4 seed. In the 29 5A up in the Corpus District, Flower Bluff is the 1 seed. Gregory Portland is the 2. Corpus Christi Carroll finished in the 3 spot, and Corpus Christi Veterans wound up in the 4 spot. In 32 6A, San Benito won the district because of seeding, and they elected to flip. That was both Weslaco and Los Fresnos. Los Fresnos won the flip. They're the 2. Weslaco is the 3 seed. And the 4 seed is the Harlingen Lady Cardinals. And San Benito wound up winning that district. La Jolla, they won that district out in 31 6A, PSJ, Edinburgh High, and Mission, all in that order out of the 31 6A district. So, again, no Edinburgh North for the second straight year. Last year snapped the 26 straight playoff appearances from longtime coach Richard Tressler. So the Lady Bobcats are in as a 3. Mission is in as a 4. And 31 6A. So the playoff matchups going into the playoffs start tomorrow. So tomorrow night in 6A, San Benito and Mission, Los Fresnos and Edinburgh High, Harlingen and La Jolla, Weslaco and PSJ. And those are the matchups. We'll start in 6A. San Benito and Mission, that's going to be a series. I really don't think San Benito's going to have too much of an issue with Mission. San Benito's been the best team all year long, not only in 32 6A, but in the Valley itself. And we'll talk more about San Benito later on in the show. But that is a series. I think San Benito sweeps Mission with fairly easily. Second game on the list, it's a 1-gamer. Los Fresnos and Edinburgh High, the Lady Bobcats finishing as a 3 seed, a very, very young Edinburgh High team. I think they exceeded the expectation this year by making the playoffs, at least in my opinion. But 31 6A, it was a down year last year. It was a down year this year. Last year you had PSJ North really run that district along with Edinburgh Vela, who was still in 6A at the time. They played some pretty good ball. Then you had Edinburgh North, and then you had La Jolla. But really, PSJ North was the cream of the crop of that district last year when they were still in 6A. They're now down in 5A. But none, to say the least, it was a rough year for 31 6A. But for Edinburgh High to be able to make the playoffs, for being a young team, such a young team, as young as they are, you got to tip your hat to Coach Arciba for making the postseason as a 3 seed. And Los Fresnos, out of 32 6A, they've had an up and down year. They still have Kate Bettis in the circle, and in a 1-gamer, that's all you need. And they still have the offense with Ella Solkazi. They still have Teresa Vila, who made the move from the outfield to the infield. She's been playing really well. Dakota Martinez. So there's still plenty of big bats in the Los Fresnos lineup. That's a 1-gamer. Anything can happen in a 1-gamer, but I think it's just too much Los Fresnos, too much experience really for this senior class. Because when they were sophomores, they went all the way down to the Sweet 16 and lost to Austin Bowie in the 4th round of the playoffs. But I think too much Los Fresnos in this one. I think they get it done. Weslaco and PSJ. PSJ has been a wild card all year. They've beaten some playoff teams. They've won a few games that maybe they shouldn't have won. They've been playing really well down the stretch. But again, just the same case with Los Fresnos and Edinburgh High. I think just too much veterans on the Weslaco side of things. Coach Mario Rodriguez and Coach Mandea, they elected to go a series, and I think that favors Weslaco. I think over the course of a series, the better team will win. That's the wrap on 6A. So San Benito, Mission, Los Fresnos, Edinburgh High, Harlingen and La Jolla, Weslaco, and PSJ. Those are the matchups in 6A. We're going to talk more softball later on in the show. We're going to be joined by Tony Lopez, the Cadillac manager, on the other side of the break. Once we wrap up with Tony, we'll break down the 5A, the 4A, and we'll talk more playoff softball when we come back.
Graduation time. Time to make some decisions. What's next? Can I afford to continue my education? What are my options? At Brownsville ISD Career and Technical Education, you can graduate from high school with a certificate and/or license ready to go to work, debt-free. We have a wide range of programs for every student, ranging from audiovisual, law enforcement, STEM robotics, electrical, welding, pharmacy, patient care tech, and many more to choose from. That's why Brownsville ISD is the best choice.
For quality care, contact Mesquite Home Health and Attendant Services today. In Brownsville at 594 Jose Marti Boulevard. Call today, 956-361-5558.
We here at Mesquite want to wish all local athletes good luck in today's game.
Music lovers, you have to stop and see the assortment of records, tapes, and records memorabilia at Forever Memories today. Located at 237 North Sam Houston in San Benito, Texas, there's over 10,000 records on display and more coming every day. Looking for your favorite album from the past, first pressings, collectibles? How about a 45 with a single you just have to have? Freddie Fender, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Elvis, Beatles, blues, rock, classics, Tejano, it's all here. Organized and priced for you. Forever Memories, 237 North Sam Houston, San Benito.
See art or create it. On South Padre Island, that's as hard as it gets. Visit SoPod.
Welcome back. We're joined by Cadillac manager Tony Lopez. What's going on, my friend?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
How's everything going here at the dealership?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. A lot of great things are happening. We're getting ready for summer. A lot of our customers, their kids are graduating. And the good thing about that is a lot of the kids we're so proud of here, we call them the free extended family. And they're coming in, they're buying them new cars, or they're buying them used cars and certified cars. Man, we got cars from $5,000 all the way up to $50,000. So we have a car to fit every single family's needs. Some just want transportation. Some want something to be a little bit safer. Some for longer trips. But we got pretty much a vehicle for everybody. And we do have a special graduation discount here at FRIA. You just got to ask for it. Just remind us and let us know, because we want to assist any way we can to help with that burden of college.
So what is that the only deal going on, or what cars are people can look for, or what are we looking at?
As a matter of fact, right now the taxes are being waived on the leases. So pretty much if you have a vehicle, let's just use an example of about $50,000, well, your taxes are usually about $3,500, maybe $4,000. Right now they're being waived completely, so it really does a number on the payment by bringing it down substantially. Makes it a lot more affordable. And we're doing educator discounts. We're doing right now the tax break along with some incentivized rates, especially like on our Sierras too. We got stuff as low as 2.9. So we're trying to find a way to not let inflation affect your everyday life and your budget. So I promise we'll find a way here at Free Cadillac Buick GMC.
And for people that can just come on in the store, set up an appointment?
Yes, it's always good to call and set up the appointment. We have a great business development center that understands that the one thing that you value the most as customers is time. And that's one thing that we don't want to waste is your time. So we got ways to do almost 90% of it via the phone, and then just 10% just to pick out the right car and test drive it, and then finish everything off. We don't want you to have to spend all day here. We want it to be just a great event, everybody involved. You get taken care of, and then the service after the sale is where we excel the most.
How can people reach out to you, or what give them a number?
Good, yeah, we have numbers here. The phone number we got it's been around for since I've been part of FRIA, which is the past 26 years, 548-6482, 548-6481. 541-3141. All these different numbers are to make sure that you have availability. You can go into FRIA.com. You can go into FRIA Buick GMC, or you can even go into FRIA Cadillac and make an appointment through the internet or through the website to make it even easier. There's so many ways, and we're trying to find a way to get as close to what's going on and the trends to make it a really, really good, a quick experience where you're going to have a good time doing it and want to come back in 2 years and do it again.
That's Tony Lopez, the Cadillac manager. Before I let you go, it's draft week.
I know, so we're freaking out here. First of all, the Eagles find a way to make our lives even more miserable by giving a ridiculous contract to a quarterback who barely showed. He didn't even win the Super Bowl. And now he found a way to throw a wrench, and now Dak, whom we don't like anymore, and we're trying to get rid of.
Well, who's
now
we?
He thinks, well, we as in everybody from this side of the world.
He's got one. Okay. I got one more year. I'm giving him one more year.
Well, good. No, good. Yeah, usually, and that's good because we're gluttons as Cowboy fans for pain. We love misery and pain. We have great home lives, but we have horrible from September probably to about November. Anyways, long story short, we hope that he does turn around. I'm a big fan, Dak. I really am. If you're listening, just do us a favor and quit talking and start walking. start making it happen. We got a great defense. We got great coaches. We got a phenomenal owner that has done so much for Texas. And, down here in the lower valley, man, it's like Dallas down here. I mean, we got Cadillac Escalades dressed up in cowboy paraphernalia all over the place. So we're big dedicated. We even have the pitada, right? Or
Yes.
the one we have over down southmost. And southmost is the most south you can get in Texas. But there's a thing, whenever you win, which we did 13 times last year, we go down there, we honk the horns, and we remind everybody of what made it fun in our childhood, and that's being a Cowboy fan.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do they take first in the draft on Thursday?
I honestly feel that we need one more piece in defense. I'm really stuck between a cornerback and a safety. So who do you think they're going to get?
Well, I think they wouldn't have got Stephon Gilmore.
No, I know.
So they got Gilmore on one side, Diggs on the other. Jordan Lewis is coming back. Anthony Brown is coming back.
I know, but here's my thing on Diggs. Man, I understand he did a lot of good interceptions, but he caused a lot of grief.
Yeah.
And he missed the most crucial block in the history of our franchise.
George Kittle.
And so don't get me wrong, I enjoy the fact that he goes for it all, but there's a time to control the chaos. Yeah. And he lacks the ability to control the chaos. So that's where I think we need a backup, somebody good that can learn from him what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, and then Deron Bland played really well last year. Nashawn Wright. So they're very, very deep at the corner position.
What do you think? I want your opinion on our running back situation.
Well, the Ronald Jones signing is going to be sneaky.
Yeah.
He's going to be sneaky, and then hopefully Pollard comes back.
Do you think he'll come back the same?
I think he will.
You do?
I think he will, yeah.
Do you think Pollard was good?
They wouldn't have signed him otherwise.
Do you think Pollard was good because Zeke tenderized the meat and then he cooked it?
No,
you think he's just
that good. He's just that good. And,
well, I hope so.
He's just that good, yeah. And then
Malik
Davis, too.
But it reminds me of a DeMarco Murray. Where finally when they gave keys to the castle, he just fizzled. Or maybe even
we got that
Jones.
check when they got paid.
I know.
I think the running back will take care of itself. I think they need to go edge rusher.
Yeah.
I think outside of Tank Lawrence, they need someone on the other side and maybe a linebacker and a tackle. So I'd probably go edge rusher or tackle.
There's going to be probably about 4 or 5 add-ons during the year because everybody's going to see that this is our year for sure. I guarantee the Cowboys will win the Super Bowl.
Well, you heard it first.
Tony Lopez, free a Cadillac. I challenge anybody to challenge me.
April 26th at 2:32.
Guarantee.
2023 on a Wednesday.
I guarantee a Cadillac, a Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl. Guaranteed.
You heard it here first. Tony Lopez. We'll see who they draft.
Yeah.
I trust the brain trust in McClay. Will McClay's done a phenomenal job. If you just look back at the last 10 years and all their first-round picks, outside of Taco Charlton, they have been hitting the money right on the head. So I'm gonna trust the brass up there. Hopefully they can make something happen and they can improve.
We've got a lot to prove, and I think the brass has a lot to prove too. So I think everybody finally is on the same page. It's time to do it. Look, Jerry, we want him to get one more Super Bowl to give him another 20 years with us. So I guarantee it's going to happen this year.
Tony Lopez, Cadillac manager, thanks for joining us.
Hey, my
yes,
brother.
sir.
God bless you.
When we come back, we're going to be talking more softball here at Luke Faria.
Awesome.
My son Leo just graduated from high school, but also with his associate degree from Texas Southmost College at no cost at all. Not having that financial burden was so helpful to our family. That's 2 years we did not have to pay for.
All of my TSC credits transferred to UTRGV, and I am so grateful to go into my major debt-free.
Hija, tomorrow's your quinceañera. I need you to call your padrinos and tell them thank you for the salon, the tamales, the dress, el DJ.
Ay, Ama, you called them. I didn't even want a quinceañera in the first place. I would have preferred to have gone to Paris instead.
I will, fine. I'm gonna give you your surprise gift early.
Huh?
Guess what? You're going to Paris.
How?
Well, I've been saving mucho dinero all year in insurance thanks to Pronto Insurance.
Let's just get the quinceañera and go straight to Paris.
Call your padrinos right now.
Okay, Nia.
Ask your agent how you can start saving with Pronto. Best price in town.
Been feeling a little stressed lately? Luckily, South Padre Island has plenty of Or maybe you'd rather have some aww. Now that you think about it, it's been a long time since you've had a good How will you ever decide? Choosing what to do on South Padre Island? That's as hard as it gets. Visit sopadre.com.
Welcome back to Luke Faria Motors, Brownsville, Texas. Kevin Aro running the show today. We were just joined by Tony Lopez, the Cadillac manager. Be sure to stop by Luke Faria Motors here in Brownsville. All these special deals, and yeah, with graduations right around the corner. Didn't realize that we're fixing to turn the calendar over to the month of May, which is a really good month. Birth month, and of course the high school playoffs for softball. So we went through the 6As, San Benito Mission, Los Fresnos, Edinburgh High, Harlingen, La Jolla, Weslaco, PSJ. Those are the matchups in 6A. We're going to break down that Harlingen, La Jolla matchup later in the show. I think that's the most compelling one in Class 6A. Harlingen, they've been playing well as of late. La Jolla won the district, but we'll get more into that later in the show. So in Class 5A, here are the matchups. We have Harlingen South and Mac High. That'll be a series. Weslaco East will be playing PSJ North. That, too, will also be a series. Nicky Rowe will take on Mercedes. Pioneer and Lopez. That one's interesting, and a rematch from last year's by-district round. Palmview will be taking on Gregory Portland. Rio Grande City will be taking on Corpus Christi Veterans. So those are the 5A matchups. It's going to be really interesting, I think more so of when you get the 29-5A and the 35A, because I really feel that, we'll talk more about the 35A later in the show. I have some points here that I wrote down. That Palmview Gregory Portland series, I think it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be a series. Palmview, I know Adi Alanis had a great year. I thought Palmview, they won some big games along the way. Gregory Portland, too, they were in a tough district, and I saw them once earlier this year up at the Cal Allen tournament. And I think Palmview, if I don't see them getting swept, but I think that game can go to a 3-game. It can go to all 3 games. So just kind of an upset alert there, if you wanted to call it an upset, Palmview and Gregory Portland. But the more compelling one, it's going to be Rio Grande City and Corpus Christi Veterans. Rio Grande City, with Denzi Signs in the circle for them. They lost 1 game in district play, and it was the last game of the year of the regular season. They lost to Roma. Didn't mean too much for Rio Grande City. Is it nice to win district or finish undefeated? Sure. I wouldn't put too much stock into that last loss for Rio Grande City. They have one of the top shortstops in the Valley, and Bella Ramirez. She's back. She's healthy. And when you have a shortstop like that, that accounts for a lot of outs. And I don't think people realize that until they watch the games, until they see the games. I know at the La Jolla tournament earlier this year, Bella was all over the place. She accounted for about 8 of the first 12 outs we saw. She's that good. And then we saw her against Mission Veterans later in the year, and there were so many plays where she's a vacuum there at shortstop, and she takes away base hits. She takes away anything in that 6-hole, even in the 5-hole with her range. So I really think, in Corpus Christi Veterans, they lost last year to Mercedes in the area around, and I feel that that's a team, they're very good, and they finished 4th in 29-5A. They still have Maddie Aguilar, Alyssa Burge, who's one of the best third basemen. She's still a sophomore this year. She's an extremely talented third baseman for Corpus Christi Veterans. They got, Liz Solis. They got Talia Maldonado behind the plate. So Corpus Christi Veterans, they got a run in them, and if they do wind up going on a run in the playoffs, it wouldn't surprise me not one bit, because just how good that team is. And to think that they finished 4th in their district, it's pretty crazy to think about, and just how good the 29 5A district was. Then you look at the Corpus Christi Carroll matchup. Carroll and Roma are playing against each other. I think it was Carroll's playing Mission Veterans. Excuse me. Carroll's playing Mission Veterans. I think that too is going to be a really interesting series. Carroll. It's going to be offense, a really good offense versus a really good pitcher in Mickey Castillo. Good pitching beats good hitting anytime, right? But that's gonna be a series. So we're gonna see how Mission Veterans can pivot in Game 2, and if Carroll can force a Game 3, it's gonna be interesting to see. Mission Veterans, like Harlingen and La Jolla, they need to win the first game. Mission Veterans needs to win Game 1 at all costs, and it gives them a little bit of leeway. Not too sure how deep they are in pitching. If they have to throw Mickey in Game 2, it can get a little sticky. But if you're Mission Veterans, you need to win Game 1. They're going up against a really tough offense in Corpus Christi Carroll. Caitlin Mendez, one of the better players in the area for Carroll, and they have a track record of playing really well in the postseason. And that's the 29 5A up against the 30 5A. So just keep an eye on that one. I think if Mission Veterans can win that first game, I think that'll give them an opportunity. It'll give them a shot. And then you have PSJ North and Westlaco East right on top, above them in the bracket. So the winner between Mission Veterans and Carroll will get the winner between PSJ North and Westlaco East. And Westlaco East, too, they lost 1-0 on Friday. They kind of stumbled down the stretch in district play. But, when you play in a district like that, you're playing 18 district games. Westlaco East, they managed to finish 4th in that district with a 12-6 record. But when you look at those 6 losses, it's to Mercedes, it's to South, it's to Lopez, it's to Brownsville Veterans. So those 6 losses, a team from on the other side of the bracket may look at us. Well, they lost 6 times. Well, look who they lost to. 32 5A was the toughest district easily in the Valley, and then you have Mercedes and Rowe above them. They're gonna take on Rowe Mercedes. The winner there will play either Gregory Portland or Palmview. So at least on that end there, I could see Palmview pulling off an upset. Mercedes they'll beat Rowe. They won't have any issue there. So I can see Mercedes, Gregory Portland, Mercedes, Palmview. But either way, for Mercedes, going 17-1 in district play and having the combination of Zel Camacho and Clarissa Rizzo, I think those two are a very formidable punch for Mercedes, and they're built to go a series. They can certainly do that. And the impressive thing is, we talked about San Benito and how good San Benito was and how they are the best team in the district. Now they weren't in the best district, believe it or not. 32-6A wasn't what it was the last few years, but nonetheless, San Benito still undisputed, the number 1 team. Then you say, well, who's behind them? And then you look at it and say, well, what was the toughest district in the Valley? If it wasn't 32-6A, it was 32-5A. Mercedes right at top, 17-1. Doesn't matter. South 14 wins, Lopez 13 wins, East 12 wins, Veterans 11 wins, Edcal Chelsea 11 wins. Their only loss came to Brownsville Lopez early in the year in the first half of district play. In a game where, Lopez just scored when runners were in scoring position. Mercedes, they struggled that night with getting runners, not that they were getting runners on, but they were struggling with runners in scoring position. That was really all what it came down to. And after that, they've been on a roll. They won 17 games in the toughest district. So I think Mercedes will be fine against Rowe. Adamari Perales, to me, she's one of the better players, one of the more underrated players. I'm a big fan of hers ever since she came up in Mercedes. And Ashley De Leon, who's a young catcher behind the plate, she's done a phenomenal job. So I think Mercedes, they shouldn't have any problem with Rowe. They should win that one in 2, and then they'll be awaiting the winner between Gregory Portland and Palmview. And even when you get to that second round, you look at Mercedes, and they have a favorable bracket. If they were to play a Gregory Portland or if they were to play a Palmview, I can see them going a series in that second round and them being the favorites, whether it's Gregory Portland or whether it's Palmview. And then you look at, we can do this, we can look further into the third round. If Mission Veterans plays their cards right, Mission Veterans can be in that third round, and it can be a Mission Veterans Mercedes third round in the playoffs if they can play their cards right. They have the ace in the hole. They have Mickey Castillo, and at this point, you can take a page out of the playbook and go one gamer the rest of the way, and I think that's what's going to favor Mission Veterans. If they can get through this series against Carroll, they can limit their offense. They can win that game. PSG Northwest Westlake East, the winner there. That'll probably go 3 games. I think that's a top toss-up. That's probably the most evenly matched up teams we have with Haley Garza for PSJ North, and then Westlake East with her freshman pitcher. She's done a phenomenal job. I thought she pitched really well against Harlingen South. She certainly pitched well enough to win. But I think I'd probably have to go with PSJ North just because of the veteran experience. I know they're a little banged up right now, but there's some time to heal, and the Raiders have won their last 2 by-district titles. So you can look at a Mission Veterans, PSJ North, Westlake East, second round matchup. But either way you look at it, so if Carroll, in all likelihood, right, should be the team to make it to the third round, I think my pick would probably be Mission Vets if they can play their cards right. And you can be looking at a Mercedes Mission Veterans third round, a Mercedes Carroll third round, and I think as far as the competitive standpoint and looking at what matchups would stick out the most, I think that would be Mercedes and Carroll in that third round and a possible trip to the Sweet 16. So Mercedes last year they had that banner year, but Smithson Valley is up top on the other side of the district. South San Antonio, a team that's been a thorn in the Valley side the last few years, at least when they were in 6A. MacArthur, South Side also up on the top end of the bracket, but certainly the Valley has a good chance, a good opportunity to get an All-Valley third round, and I think it's going to be Mercedes on the top end of the bracket. And again, Carroll they're a good, solid team offensively, pitching-wise. That's really the question. So if Mission Veterans can limit their offense, I think Mickey Castillo can do the rest. And offensively with Mission Veterans, Chelsea Coy, Alyssa Guzman, Mickey Castillo, Bree Solis. So they've got some offense there, and they got off to that great start. And I think, too, that matters. The combination with Mickey Castillo and Alyssa Guzman, those 2 girls play travel ball together. They're very close. They're best of friends, and I think that goes a long way when your catcher knows your pitcher, when your pitcher knows your catcher, and I think that matters. You see that with the Astros with Maldonado, how well he works with the pitchers, and I think that's what one of the coaches referred to Alyssa. She goes, she's our Maldi. She's our Maldi. She's our Maldi behind the plate. She knows how to manage the game. And with her and Castillo working together, when Mickey's on, she's on. And again, we're going to talk about pitchers later on in the show. That's certainly a matchup, and it would not surprise me if Mission Veterans can go on a little bit of a run here and meet Mercedes in the third round of the playoffs. So that's in 5A. Harlingen South playing Mac High. I don't think the Lady Hawks will have much of an issue. They've been playing really well as of late. Lexi Sandoval, as a sophomore, has really turned it on as a pitcher. She's matured. She's grown, and you can see that swagger starting to come out of her. She pitched extremely well. She pitched a no-hitter on Friday against Westlake East. She had double-digit strikeouts. She pitched the shutout in a game that they really needed. Harlingen South, they went 14-4. That lineup, it's its own lineup, because if you're going to sit here and they're not the 17 team, they're not the 18 team or the 19, fine. This is their own lineup. This is their own team. And for me, Karime Martinez has the prettiest left-handed swing out there, and she's in the leadoff spot. Yezi Perez, that was a big loss. Losing Yezi earlier in the year, there was a timetable on maybe when she can come back, but once she was out for the year, I felt that really set that team back, just a little bit. Having Haley Vasquez come back, she was ineligible the first half of the year. Once she was eligible, I felt that offense got a little kickstart. And it's a shame because we didn't get to see the full product. And there was just one player, but one player matters. Because at least, in my opinion, Yezi would have been in the leadoff spot. You can put Karim in the 2, Haley 3, or Lexi 3, Haley 4, Emi Ruiz 5, and Natalie Martinez in the 6th spot. And then your lineup extends. It extends from 1 through 5 through 1 through 6, and it makes all that much of a difference. And then having Yezi, if she would have come back, she would have been the shortstop. She would have been the shortstop there, and then you had Harley behind the plate, Lexi in the circle, and those are 3 important pieces: a shortstop, a pitcher, and a catcher. And I think if South would have had those all together, the district standings may be a little bit closer. You know, Harley and Yezi were that good together, adding to what South already had. But for them to go 14-4, first year in 5A, moving down a notch from the 32 6A ranks to the 5A ranks, a lot of speculations. Well, we played in 6A. You know, we know what it's like. It's like, right, but the 32 5A, they picked a heck of a year to come down when you had Brownsville Lopez, who was playing really well with the Lazama girls, playing for Lopez. Jenny Shank, you know, they had two really talented pitchers. They played really well. They won 13 games. So Harlingen South playing McAllen High. I don't see Harlingen South having too much of an issue there. We talked a little bit about Westlaco East, PSG North, Mercedes Row. Pioneer and Lopez, that's the interesting one. And if there's going to be a team on a, quote, upset alert, it just might be that Pioneer and Lopez series, because you look down on the bottom half of the bracket, you have Harlingen South and McAllen, you have Flower Bluff and Roma. We didn't get to talk too much about that. And then right above them, it's the Rio Grande City and Corpus Christi veterans. And then right beneath them, you have Pioneer and you have Lopez. So Pioneer and Lopez, they played last year in the bi-district round. Jenny Shank was just a freshman. The Lazama girls were not there just yet. Pioneer had Lissa Casanova. They still had Gotti Lopez. She was a junior then, but they had the ace in the hole, and that was Casanova. Now this year, Pioneer, they took a step back in the pitching department. Reagan Staley is going to be their starter. If there's going to be an upset, it could be this one. And Lionel Lopez was struggling out of the gate, but this one's going to go 3 games. I really think it's going to go 3 games. I felt last year Lopez, they struggled defensively. If they had what they had now this year, I think last year it probably would have gone 3 games too. I think Pioneer last year ultimately would have won the series last year. This year it's a little bit different. Lopez has faced good hitting. They faced Mercedes. They faced South. They faced East. Veterans had their moments offensively. But this year it's a different Lopez team. So I think if Pioneer is going to want to win this game, they're going to have to outscore Brownsville Lopez, and that's a tall order in itself, because the pitching is not exactly Pioneer's strength this year. It certainly is their offense. They have speed at the top of the lineup. They have one of the better shortstops. If it's not Bella Ramirez, you look at Gotti Lopez from Pioneer. Those are the 2 top shortstops we have in the Valley this year. So Lopez, they have what it takes to beat Pioneer this year, and I think over the course of a series, it's going to even out, not even out exactly, but in the pitching department, it's going to favor Lopez in the course of a series. So we'll see how that one maps out, and I mean Lopez can certainly win that series, and they can take on a Rio Grande City or a Corpus Christi veterans, and that second round is going to be so interesting. Because then you can have Rio Grande City and Lopez, or you can have Rio Grande City and Pioneer, or you can have CC Veterans and a Lopez. There's a lot of really good games in between those two, and I feel Flower Bluff will take care of Roma. I don't think they'll have too much of an issue there. Jade Moreno is back this year as a senior for Flower Bluff. Samaya Johnson. I don't think the Bluff will have too much of an issue with Roma over the course of a series. And then that'll be an interesting a draw for Harlingen South. Harlingen South falls into that bracket with Flower Bluff. So that's their second round matchup. And then that just goes on to another conversation. Would you rather be the 2 seed or would you rather be the 3 seed? Because right now, if you are Westlaco East, you're looking back up at your bracket and you're saying, hey, we wound up getting a good draw, right? Because you have PSG North in the first round and you have Mission Veterans Carroll in the second, and then you could get a Mercedes or a GP in the third round. Not as favorable down on the bottom if you're Harlingen South. You get the extremely tough matchup right out of the gate with Flower Bluff, which could very well be the same. You can make that case up top, but the matchup with Flower Bluff, it's more favorable against Roma. And then you're having to face a horse and Jade Moreno right out of the gate. There's no unknown. It's almost a certainty that you're going to get a very good Flower Bluff team in that second round. So it's going to be a lot harder to get out of that second round if you're Harlingen South. Again, having to face that 29 5A district. And then in the third round, you could be looking at a CC Veterans. And really, I mean, Pioneer was a pitcher away from being very, very good. But this bottom half of the bracket, it's absolutely loaded. With pitching, when you look at Moreno, when you look at Sandoval, when you look at Shank, when you look at Aguilar, when you look at Sainz, so many pitchers here on this end of the bracket. But it's certainly one of the more loaded brackets that we have. So that's the bottom half of Region 4. In 4A, you have Port Isabel taking on Cal Allen. Toloso Midway taking on La Feria, Raymondville and Alice. Rio Hondo, Idea Edinburgh down in 3A. Cal Allen PI is a one-gamer. Cal Allen shouldn't have any issue there. Toloso Midway taking on La Feria. TM should win that one over the course of a series. Alice and Raymondville is also a series. I think Alice will wound up winning that one. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about 5 things we learned throughout the softball season when we come back.
Our commitment to our team and our community, relentless. Our products are innovative and exciting. Fruya, we're what's next now.
Sherryland ISD, a nationally recognized district focusing on quality and rigorous instruction where every child is immersed in a culture of academic success. A district dedicated to preparing our youth for the future. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower all students to reach their full potential and become leaders of the highest moral character. Sherryland ISD, excellence is our tradition.
Just listen to me.
Escucha.
Do everything with speed.
Prontísimo.
Out of home business or
flexible.
Insurance for all your
barato.
needs. You say you just got a new boat. Come on by and we'll give you a free quote.
Prontísimo.
Okay, who's singing? Me or you? Hello?
Accesible.
I'm out.
Pregúntale a tu agente cómo ahorrar con Pronto, porque más barato, nadie.
When you study local at Texas Southmost College, you can choose from over 50 associate degree programs, certificates, and workforce training programs. Register now for summer and fall classes and study local at Texas Southmost College.
Welcome back. Luke Faria Motors in Brownsville, Texas. Kevin Arrow just going over the playoff matchups from 6A, 5A, 4A. So a lot to be decided here. So 5 things we learned in 2023 from 5 to 1. Starting off with number 5, the West Valley was better than a lot of people think. And we were talking about Rio Grande City, Mission Veterans, Palmview, Roma, La Jolla, all out west. Kind of gets forgotten here and there, the 35A district, because, Rio Grande City, they got to go play Laredo Martin. They got to play the Laredo schools. And Rio Grande City, Roma's, an hour back out west. And, people kind of tend to forget about it just a little bit. But I thought this year, the 35A out west, I thought they had a really good year. Rio Grande City, they won themselves another district championship. They got a heck of a shortstop. They got a heck of a pitcher in Denzi Sainz. And then Mission Veterans, adding Mickey Castillo this year, transferring over from Mission High to their sister school, Mission Veterans. I thought Mission Veterans played really well. There were some games that they should have won, but, the Lady Patriots certainly have had a great year with old Mickey there. and Alyssa Guzman, Brice Solis. So there's some chaos blood down there at Mission Veterans. La Jolla Palmview certainly turned some heads this year. They had been on the upswing the last few years, and then Roma being able to make the playoffs and making it an all-valley 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of 35A. So the west of the valley was a lot better than people thought. La Jolla, too, was out there. They're in 31-6A. Arlette Hernandez, I'll talk about pitching in a little bit, but I mean, when I talk to most coaches, Arlette's in a league of her own. That's what they'll say. And, we'll see her tomorrow night as La Jolla is back in the playoffs. But, yeah, the 35A, better than people think, and the quality of play certainly it vamped it up a notch. And, you just look at the pitching out west with Mickey Castillo at Mission Vets, Adi Alanis at Palmview, Denzi Signs at Rio Grande City, and then you have Arlette Hernandez out there in La Jolla. So certainly a lot of good arms out there west of the valley. So number 4, the Alice Lady Coyotes, they just might make it to a region final this year. This year, believe it or not, they won their first ever district title in program history under Coach Janae Gonzalez, and they slayed the giant that was Cal Allen, and they won the district this year. Alice's only lone hiccup was that loss to Bishop earlier this year. Outside of that, they were able to sweep Cal Allen and march their way all the way to a district title. So, Alice in a bit of a slump towards the end of the year. They're going to play a series against Raymondville, and you'd like their chances there. And then they'll either meet Calhoun or Devine in the second round. Then you're looking at a Rockport, Robstown, Zapata matchup in round 3. I think, Ava Hernandez is as good as they come, and she's really just kind of taken over the Coastal Bend this year. Last year we had Andrea Martinez from Bishop, and we had Bree Ford down in Cal Allen, but this year it was Ava Hernandez's year in the Coastal Bend to really reign supreme, and that's in the bottom half of the district. And you look at the matchups for Alice, and again, it's just a favorable matchup. And then in the Sweet 16, you could be looking at either Bernie or Columbia, and that's gonna be the sweetener there. No pun intended. But look at Bernie, Columbia. Bernie's for real. Columbia last year was able to knock out Cal Allen. That's who Cal Allen beat in the second round. It was West Columbia who Cal Allen wanted to lose into. But in the Sweet 16, that's the matchup for Alice. Most likely, in my opinion, will be Bernie. On the top of the bracket, you're looking at Cuero, Bandera, El Campo, Brazosport, Bernie Gonzalez. And that's the Sweet 16. They're on the top. So in the bottom half of the bracket, on the other side of the possible Sweet 16, you have Cal Allen taking on PI, and then they'll meet Carrizo Springs or Sinton in the second round, and a possible third-round matchup with the Toloso Midway. That's very, very possible for Cal Allen and TM to meet in the third round. But the big thing for Cal Allen in the Sweet 16, it's all going to come down to Alice, Bernie, Cal Allen, and reigning state champion Fredericksburg. That was the big jump last year. Fredericksburg winning the state championship in 3A, moving up to 4A, and I think Fredericksburg, barring any kind of upset, they'll may meet Sweeney in the second round, but I really don't see Fredericksburg losing in that possible Sweet 16 matchup between Cal Allen and Fredericksburg. And I think the winner there, you can make a really good case, can win the region. But then you'd have to play Alice. So a couple years ago, we had Santa Gertrudis and Bishop in the region final. This year, you could possibly have an Alice Cal Allen in the region final. But Alice just might take it all the way to the region final. They have a clear path to the Sweet 16 where they'll face either Bernie or Columbia. That was point number 4. Number 3, San Benito's back. The Greyhounds are back, and this year they were the number 1 team in the Valley, and they won their district. They went 10-0 in district play. They won 30 games this year. 2018 was the last time they went to the Sweet 16. 2019, they lost in the area round to Laredo United. 2020 was the COVID year. 2021, 2022, they lost in the first round to PSJ North. But this year, I just really feel that they have a really good shot to make it all the way to a region final. Last year we had Weslaco make it all the way to the region final. I think San Benito has the horses in play with Rodriguez and Delgado both in the circle. That creates a formidable 1-2 punch. When Nemo's not pitching, she'll play in the infield, and with Sanchez, Aguilar, and Delgado all in the infield, and with Montes behind the plate, that infield, they go at a different speed. So I really feel San Benito has a deep run in them this year. They'll look at Brennan or United in the second round. In the third round, they could see a Harlan, United South, or a La Jolla in the third round. And sometimes if you're going to go on a playoff run, you need the bracket to fall your way. And this year, the bracket just happens to favor San Benito, and you need a little bit of luck if you're going to go on these long playoff runs. And this year's team is just as loaded as it was in 2018 when they last made the Sweet 16. I feel San Benito has a great shot to make the Sweet 16 and make it to the region final. And when you're there, anything can happen. San Benito is back. Point number 2, what we've learned is this is the year of the pitcher. We talked about pitching earlier in the show. We talked about how out west in 35A there's arms. Mickey Castillo, Arlette Hernandez, Ari Alanis, Emily Delgado, Amira Rodriguez, Lexi Sandoval, Zel Camacho, Clarissa Rizzo, Kate Perez, Free Pizarro, Jenny Shank, Alexis Damez, Denzi Sainz. Just a couple of names on how good the pitching was this year, really throughout the RGV, from west of the valley and Rio Grande City all the way down to the lower valley. So, last year was the year of the pitcher, right? And that was Katia Reyes. She was Nolan Ryan last year. No one was going to touch her. She was the best pitcher we had in the valley. She put together one of the better years we've seen in recent years. But this year we saw such a good collective group of pitching, and we see it in 3A with freshman phenom Free Pizarro. We saw it all the way up to 6A with Mickey Castillo, and then in between in the 3As with Trinity down over Trinity Villalobos down in Lyford. There's another name I didn't mention, but Trinity Villalobos in 3A for Lyford. Heck of a pitcher. So we had a great deal of pitching this year, again from 6A all the way down to 1A. And then the final point, final thing we learned in 2023 was that 32-5A was for real. You had 6 teams with 11 wins or more, right? And you had at Cal Chelsea, Brownsville Veterans, 11 wins, 7 losses, but 11 wins, and they did not make the playoffs. So let that sink in. The 4th seed had 12 wins. And then you look at other districts down the line, it's like, man, well, Harlingen made it in at 4-6, or Edinburgh made it in, just over 500 or at 500, and that's fine. You got to play who's on your schedule. Roma went 8-5. That would have gotten you in some other districts. But for 32-5A to really flex what they did this year was really a testament to how deep that district was. Mercedes 17-1, South 14-4, Lopez 13-5, East 12-6. So that district was as good as advertised. It was the best district we had in the valley, and I'm really excited to see how it maps out when they meet the 29 5As and just what can happen in that third round. So west of the valley, better than people thought. Alice can make it all the way to a region final. San Benito is back. Year of the pitcher. 32 5A was for real. Those were 5 things I learned in 2023. Before we wrap up, we will be streaming the Harlingen South and McAllen series through Harlingen HCISD. It'll be streamed on their YouTube channel. So be sure to look out for that. Harlingen South and McAllen High. That series starts Friday in McAllen. Harlingen and La Jolla, that series will start tomorrow. Game 1 will be in La Jolla. I'll be covering that series as well. So excited about that series. Of the 6A matchups, that's the most compelling one. Arlette Hernandez, the best pitcher in the game. Harlingen's going to have their work cut out for them. But we'll see. A lot of people feel that series might be a lot closer than what it seems. Some people think that La Jolla should win in a sweep. A little bit of mixed feelings. I think it's going to go 3. I think Harlingen's been playing a lot better as of late. We're going to have to wait and see. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock, first pitch at La Jolla. Harlingen HCISD on the YouTube page. So be sure to check that out throughout the series. Thursday through Saturday if needed in Game 3. Harlingen South Mac High, Harlingen, and La Jolla will be on the YouTube page. So that wraps it up. Thanks to my good friend Tony Lopez, the manager of the Cadillac branch here at Luke Faria Motors. Kevin Aro, Rudy Zamaripa Jr. getting set for the soccer showcase June 17th, and then June 23rd through the 25th, we will have our softball showcase. So be on the lookout for that. That wraps it up, saying so long for now.